Welcome to Go Style Podcast, where I like to talk to athletes, trainers, and coaches for some of the advice, some of the trials, some of the tribulations, but also some of the successes and some of the things that they did to help them achieve their goals. Hope you enjoy. What's up, dude?
What's up,
How
man?
are you?
I'm good.
You guys started yet? You guys started practices?
We had our first one yesterday.
How many teams you coaching right now?
Just one this year. Thank
Really?
God.
Is it baseball or softball?
Softball.
Cool. What happened to the other guys?
I just told them I didn't want to do baseball
Didn't
anymore.
like them anymore?
Well, no, not even
Didn't
that.
win enough championships?
Just don't like baseball much anymore.
Why don't you like baseball?
It just kind of burnt out on it.
On the coaching side?
Yeah. I just don't.
Because how many years have you been coaching?
Since I was 18, so this will be year 5.
And then you coached for Lindenwood, right? For softball?
Not really coach, but yeah, kinda. Like
What?
I'm like a student assistant. So
Well, that's coaching. What are you talking
I
about?
guess.
Are you
I
out
don't
there
know.
on the field?
Yeah.
Are you on the website as like one of the assistant coaches?
Yeah, I'm on the staff thing
you're
or
cool.
whatever.
What are you talking about? What got you into softball?
Really just like I can't pinpoint like one certain thing, but a main thing is like being up here with the lessons and
Oh, yeah.
just seeing the difference in girls and boys.
It is
like
a different animal.
it is a whole different animal. The girls just get after it. I don't know. Unless you've done it, you can't even really explain
Nope.
it. Like the girls they're just different.
I did a couple of first like speed and agility back in Arizona, but I never did like straight lessons for softball. So the first time was here, and obviously like it's underserved as far as softball goes. So I had a couple catchers come in, and the first one I'm like, they're the same age, but she's way more mature. Like she's way more intense. She's ready to go. It is. It's a complete
100%.
totally different animal. Do you want to coach full time?
I used to think I did, but it's kind of getting to the point now where I really just want this to be like a side type of thing. Like this is my hobby. This is what I enjoy doing, and then have like a real job once I finish up my degree and everything.
Right.
So
What are you going to school for?
business administration. So just
Where are you
really
gonna go?
looking to get into any type of business and go. Like with my degree, the way that my advisor described it to me was like, if I would have honed in on like marketing or entrepreneurship or something like that, then that kind of limits where I can go. But if I just go straight up business admin, then I could get a job in marketing or entrepreneurship or doing sales or something like that.
Dude. It's all marketing. Have you found any of those skills or lessons that you've learned going through your sales and marketing degree to be useful in coaching, like talking to players, getting players to buy in?
Yeah, I feel like learning like the presentation and how to like present yourself in like a formal way or whatever definitely helps, because whenever I was 18, I used to just yell. Like I used to.
Oh God, it was a different time.
This isn't going how it's supposed to go. I'm sitting there yelling at 12-year-old boys like they're grown ass men.
They're all just looking at
just
you.
weighing into them. And that year was rough. We weren't very good. And then they were 13. They weren't 12, so they were 13. But that doesn't make it any better. but we weren't very good. And then the years following that, like you can see, like I don't know, not only them like growing, but like me kind of, because like I was still a kid whenever I started.
Right.
Whenever I'm still am now, but.
Right.
I was definitely not as mature as I am right now.
Right.
Whenever I first started, so you can definitely see the growth in them, and then kind of the not to be selfish or whatever, but like the growth in me too. Like I'm not out there
100%.
just absolutely belittling these kids anymore.
Right. It's crazy. Like I think especially when you first start coaching, you kind of go with what you know, which is usually how people coached you. And you get into coaching either for one or two things. Either you had a coach that you absolutely loved, adored, and like I want to be like him, and he inspired you to go coach. Or you got the guy that you're like, I absolutely hated this. He made me hate the game. I'm going to go be the coach I never had, right?
Right.
And I think when you see some of those guys, I remember I got into a conversation where, old school, like, used to, like, there would be at least one time a year where you're like, coach is going to kill everyone, and he's going to bury us in left field. Like, we're all going to die. This is it. And nowadays, it's so different. And to get used to it, like, when you were being critical of someone, like whether it was the hustle or whatever, you were just being honest, but you weren't being fluffy. The kids thought you were yelling. It's like, did you think you were going to die? No, this isn't yelling. Like, this is me being honest with you. Yeah, I think just back to like the first years of coaching, it's so funny to like to hear you say that, because I remember like I could tell you where I was in Phoenix when I had that same thought. I'm like, oh, I'm growing, I'm getting better. What have you noticed like on the changes, and whether it be the growth of it or the things that you've seen have helped you be a better coach, and in turn your players benefited from it? What are some of those things?
Some of the changes in what, the boys or in like
And you.
in me?
Yeah, like the direct effects.
Well, I felt like they felt like they could talk to me now. Like it wasn't really. I hate it whenever people call me coach. Like that's like I hate that.
Yeah.
And they used to call me coach all the time.
Right.
And I always tell them, guys, don't call me coach. Like
Yeah.
I don't, you know. I don't know. I don't want to say I don't deserve that title, but like I don't feel like anybody deserves anything. But like I don't know. I just don't like it. I like it whenever they, you know, I'm a person too. You know. So I felt like they could come and just talk to me and say, you know, hey coach, I don't really understand, or hey Dono, I don't really understand what's going on here.
So it made you more approachable.
Yeah, way more approachable, and like I feel like that's probably one of the biggest, like, that's a green flag in every coach. If you can just be approachable to where your players aren't like, well, I'm doing it wrong, but I don't know why I'm doing it wrong or whatever, or they don't understand what's going on, you know, and they can't come up and ask you about it. That is the worst quality to possibly have. You got to be able to, you know, the boys can come up to you and talk to you, you know.
I remember when somebody explained to me the difference between managing and coaching. And I think when you look at a lot of younger staffs, like a lot of like college and below, not pro ball, right? Where guys are like, college, yeah, you're technically you're a man, but like your brain isn't fully developed. You don't know what you're doing. So somebody was like, managing is literally taking the tools and the resources that you have and doing the best you can with them. Where coaching is developing those resources, and they're very two different things. So that's why a lot of head guys are the disciplinarian, because they manage it, and all their assistants kind of act as like the grease, the thing that the player can come to them if they have a question. They don't have to feel like I'm going to get cut or I'm going to lose my spot because of it. It was very interesting to hear you say that. But I remember when they described the levels of coaching and like what it took, like you need to know mechanics, you need to know tactics, and you need to know psychology. What makes or breaks you as a coach, though, is how well you communicate those things. So you figuring out like that the more I can let these players, hey, come talk to me, and like you're actually approaching. Because you remember when you were young and like, oh my God, I can't go tell. He's gonna make me run. Like I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die right now.
It was like that with some coaches, but like once I got older, I had a couple of really good coaches in my. Well, I don't know. I don't even really remember my coaches whenever I was younger, because I didn't spend a lot of time with them. Like my older coach, whenever I was like in high school and a little bit in middle school. Yeah, those guys were all good dudes.
I remember when I first went to Fuel Factory. So like I walked away from the game when I was in college. But I went to work at Fuel Factory, and I called Ty coach, and he was one of the other guys there, one of the other trainers. Played for Dodgers, just threw absolute gas. I called coach. He's like, "What the explicit? Did you call me?" I was like, "Coach, why?" He goes, "Don't you ever call me coach." I guess in pro ball, no one calls anyone coach. It is a taboo thing. You don't. You're a grown man. You know what it takes to get here. You know it.
Yeah.
Talk to me. I'm another human being. So it's all like first name basis. Yeah, I got fined a little bit because that was so ingrained in me, calling people coach. Oh my goodness. So you're coaching. You've coached for the Rebels for how many years now?
Oh, worked for them since I was. Let me think. When did the merger happen?
Because you grew up in this facility, right?
Yeah. I think like the old company I worked for, and then the Rebels merged whenever I think like the summer going into my senior year. So I was fresh off my junior year, I think.
Okay.
I think it could have been the summer after my senior year it already happened, but I don't think it was, because that was COVID, and I don't think it would have happened during that.
That would have been tough.
I think it was a year. I think it was the year before.
Yeah.
So.
So half a decade or more, something like that.
Yeah, probably 6 years or 5.5, something around there.
And then you've been doing baseball the whole time, except for this year. When did you pick up softball?
When did I pick up coaching softball? Last year. Last year was the first year of it.
And over the course, I know that you like training the girls a little better because the attention's there, the maturity's there. It's just a lot easier to communicate.
Yeah.
Did you like coaching softball better, or did you like coaching baseball better?
I like coaching softball better because
Really?
the game was so much more fast paced.
That's true.
And you're out there, and it seems like even if it's a 2-1 ball game, every inning is exciting. You know, every inning it's like we're right there, even if neither side. So at 10U, you know, we had a couple games this year. I had a stud pitcher. They had a stud pitcher. No one was making contact. You know, there'd be a walk, and then we'd steal a couple bags. All of a sudden, we got a girl at third.
Right.
Nobody out. Then 3 straight Ks.
That's awesome.
And the same on the other side or something like that. So then it really came down to like who was going to make the play whenever it happened. And all these girls are 8, 9, and 10 years old because in softball it's every 2 years and there's age gaps and all this stuff. But these girls are 8, 9, and 10 years old. Like, some of them don't know how to tie their shoes.
Right.
You know, and you're expecting them to know the situation, make the play, and you're sitting over there losing your mind. Like if this ball gets hit here, are they going to know what to do with it? I know we've practiced it, but are they going to know what to do with it? And then they would come through, and in those games, we had a couple of we had probably 3 games that were super tight finishes like that, and 2 out of 3 of them we made the right play and we won them or whatever. And man, that's like awesome. It's like the most out of body experience. I can't even describe it because you're just like sitting there, and I even showed my assistant coach after the one. We like walked it off or something with 2 outs, and we were down by 1, like winning run on second, tying run on third, and then this girl hits like a little bloop single over the shortstop's head, almost caught it or whatever, but there's 2 outs, right? And we practice it all the time, but they're 9 and 10, so they forget. But 2 outs, we're just taking off. Like, it doesn't matter. But we also had just grilled into them that if it's in the air, we're tagging up with less than 2 outs.
Oh, no.
So both my girls tag up. And I'm over there screaming at third. Like, not yelling loud, but like, oh, it's 2 outs. We got to run. We got to run, you know? And they finally, like, the ball drops and they're still on the bags. And I'm like, oh, my. And then we take off for home. Their shortstop like tries to make a play at home. And the catcher misses it, so then I send the other girls through. She slides in, safe. And I showed my assistant coach. I was like,
let's go.
I was shaking,
That's
dude.
awesome,
It was insane. But
that's a lot of fun.
Man, it was awesome.
There's nothing like that too, because it's not like, all right, we're World Series champs now. I mean, like, most of the time in travel ball, you get a piece of jewelry, right? That costs $5. You can go get, but like, the feeling, the pride, the accomplishment that you get out of that, there ain't nothing like that. Like, I had a really hard time. So I was very, very competitive and had like hard time with emotions when I was younger. What I found out is that I hate losing more than I like winning. It's not even love winning. It's like I expect to win. Like, you go out there. I think every athlete that competes, and like, that's why some guys will like, you play checkers and it's like the board's getting thrown. Just the question's who. Like, like who's gonna win, who's gonna lose. So when you go out there and like, you spent the time, you spent the effort, you've done the practices, you've gone through, you've woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning because somebody thought it was a great idea to start games at 8, and like, all of a sudden you're there on Sunday and nothing else exists. It's only what's between those lines and that fence, and that's it. And like,
it's an art, man. It's beautiful.
It is. It is a unemotional game played by emotional players, and there ain't nothing like it. Like, that's why I like when it gets real sappy and you hear like, oh, like it's hard not to be romantic about baseball.
Yeah,
like, I get it.
100%.
I get it. Do you think? What do you remember most? Your championship wins, or your biggest losses? What haunts you the most?
What haunts me the most?
Or what do you think about the most, I should say?
It's kind of a little bit different for me. I think with baseball and that side of it, like, what I think about the most is like how much work I put in. Like, it doesn't bother me anymore, but it used to really bother me.
Yeah.
But like how much work I put in, like, to be a better player, and I just never like got like the right opportunity, I guess. Like, I made my high school team once and I tried out 4 times.
Right.
You know, so like, that's probably the thing that I think about the most. But I don't know. I came to conclusions with it or whatever that, I don't know, still love the game, and I get to not really live through these kids now, but like try to like put them in a better position than I was, because you know, I lived it. I worked my butt off and just, you know, wasn't enough. So I don't want to see that happen to another kid. So
yeah, it's crazy how like one little detail, or like, here, let me ask you, like, how many, and you don't even have to give me an exact amount, but How many things do you know now that you wish high school Dono could have known back then?
Oh, all of them. All of them. I thought it was a great idea to hold my hands like this in the box for a whole year, and it just didn't work for me.
Right.
And then little things like I think about it all the time. Like the junior year, the year that I made the team, I raked, right?
Yeah.
Like I played really
That helps.
well. And I was using a single piece bat. Like I was using just like like a in-loaded single piece bat or whatever. It was a little top heavy, whatever, but I raked. And then the next year I got a new bat, and like I got a 2-piece
Super flexy, mid-weight,
or whatever, and I did not hit very well, and I like little things like that, like just know, like back then I thought bats were just bats,
right?
But you ask anybody now, and you know that bats are not just bats. Like everybody has a different, especially with the metal bats, like everybody has a different preference. Everybody like got to find what they like, and I wish I would have known a little bit about that. But then like mechanic-wise and game-wise, I wish I would have seen the game from the coach's side a little more back then than I did. Because back then I was just like, oh, fuck this coach. I got, I'm a stud, and I'm sitting here over here on
what are you doing?
I'm riding pine.
Hey, coach, that lineup's wrong.
Yeah, like I'm riding pine. Like, what is this? But I never took into consideration like we're playing against a team that I don't know bunts a lot or something. I'm not mobile on the field. Little things like that. Or we're playing, just little things that go into every single lineup, and I never thought about it. Like I looked at a lineup sheet, and if I was batting 7th, I was pissed, But I never thought about how, lineups are constructed, lineups are set up, and really like 7th is like almost your second cleanup hitter. Like, okay, we're putting these guys in this spot because they'll get something done in the first. Then the next inning comes around, got these 2 guys in front of him because if they get on base, he can put a ball in play and get somebody else. In, like little things like that. I wish I would have understood back then.
When do you think? Or what do you think is a major like contributing factor to you learning the game?
Just me learning the game now, or like having learned the game, or
so like, what do you think made the difference between Coach Dono now or Dono now? I know you don't like Coach, or Dono now versus high school Dono. What was that catalyst? Like for me, it was a lot of it was at Fuel Factory. Like I got to be around guys that like you would watch on TV a month later. They would just sit there and like you would just pick their brain. You just learn.
Yeah.
I got to see stuff through like watching video and just seeing mechanics and hey, there's more than one way to skin a cat type of deal. So what were some of those things for you? Like if you had a new coach, if you had high school Dono sitting right there, right in front of you, like, hey, listen, I can't tell you everything that you need or want to know, but here's how to find it. What would that be for you?
For me, it was so kind of the same thing as you at Fuel Factory. Like, I mean, I've been working in the same building since I was fucking 12.
Right.
So I got to be up here with the Schaefer brothers, and if you're not from this area, you don't know who they are.
Well, Aaron got drafted, right?
Aaron got drafted. Adam got drafted. Adam signed or got drafted. I can't remember. And then their other brother, Jake, he was a part of it, but not really. He would be up here sometimes, but he got drafted too. So
skills, baseball knowledge, you got to be around it.
I got to be around guys that had done every aspect of it but the major leagues.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we get this guy named Scott Main up here. Yeah. He's been in the major leagues.
He pitched a little bit.
I could pick the brain of 4 people every day from the time I was 12 to 2 years ago that knew the game inside and out. Yeah. And I would say stupid things like whenever I was 17, like I hated Colton Wong. Like absolutely hated him. He was the second baseman for the Cardinals, and everybody else seemed to love him. Yeah. And I would say something like, "Man, why do they even play this cat? He can't hit. Like he cannot hit, you know." And they would sit there and like smack me on the back of the head and be like, "Shut up. He's the best second baseman defensively in baseball. Like shut up. What are you talking about?" Little things like that, or I would just catch their bullpens. We lived dang near the same life, just like I would just catch like Aaron and Adam whenever they'd have a pitching lesson. My job was to catch their lesson. I just sit there and just listen to what they were saying, take it in. And the biggest part of it was like listening to like the mental approach of it. Like, why are we attacking this guy with a curveball whenever we're down in the little things like that, or just the way that they would think about this stuff, and then vice versa, teach that to other people. Like learning how to like teach that to other people and word it in certain ways, and realized that you couldn't say the same thing to every single kid. Like,
yeah, everybody learns differently.
you had, like, everybody learned differently.
Yeah.
We would do the same drill 6 times that day
Right.
with kids, right? But
Yeah.
we do it a different way every time.
Right.
You know, because one kid can't move like that, or one kid doesn't understand, like, this
Yeah.
analogy that we're trying to use he doesn't get that, so we have
Right.
to use a whole different analogy, you know?
Oh my God, yeah.
Little things
How
like
you
that.
say it.
So
Well,
that's probably where it was.
I don't know about you, but I would like to start getting ready for my lessons because they're about to start coming in. Before you go, if you only had one opportunity, so you had, you could pick a softball girl or you could pick a baseball boy, to see them again, and whether it be high school or they're young playing travel ball, if you knew you couldn't see them again, what is a piece of advice that you would give them? So, for instance, for catchers, if I never get to see again, I would say sit in front of 100. If you can catch 100, you're doing it right because there's no room for inefficiencies. If I never see you again, sit in front of 100. What is something that the great Dono Hatton would tell either a softball or baseball or both if you never got a chance to see him again?
Oh, man, this is a tough one.
He's thinking right now.
God.
In case you guys aren't watching the video. Dead air on a podcast.
Man, I don't know. I feel like that's really...
I know. I should have told you before. I
Yeah.
should have given you a chance to think about it.
Giving me, like, you know, the drive
Yeah.
over here to really
Uh-huh.
brainstorm. But I don't know. I feel like that's really, really broad because it's like,
Yeah. Right. Is
like
it about
catching.
hitting? Is it
If
about-
everybody like that's a really good like I'm not saying not all the catchers are
Right.
the same, right? But I
Right.
feel like hitting wise, like every kid is so different. Like
Yep.
it's
Yep.
I don't know. I'd probably just tell them like a pretty cliche one, like
Yeah.
keep working on your craft or something like that. Like
Oh, you would give him a piece
you're
of
not-
motivation?
you're not,
Yeah.
you know, you're not good enough yet. You know, you know what I mean? Like a bunch of kids will come in here and they just think that they're
Oh, man.
great. You know,
Bro, I tell you what, if this podcast ends up going, which I think will be all right, I got a couple good guys coming on. I think like we'll end up doing a merch line, and we're going to have Dono shirts. The amount of absolute golden lines this guy is beyond his years. It is phenomenal.
that's what a barrel sounds
Yeah.
like.
Well, I appreciate it for coming on, man. Let's go get ready for lessons.
All right, sounds good. This is the Coach Todd podcast.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That was fun, man.